Alrighty, and wow. I mean, if you thought last night when the U.S. just barely hang on to beat Iran was an intense kind of game and a game where pretty much you're on your edge of your seat, you have not seen what happened in terms of today's World Cup group stage action because my oh my, all four games that we saw that there was definitely a lot of switching back and forth in terms of each of these fan base of whether or not if their team is going to advance into the next round. And we almost had a scenario that was very similar last year that people will say that it's a bit of a controversy that that's going to be the tiebreaker that decide who will move on into the next round. But before we get to that, let us actually first talk about the game that happened last night because I actually forgot to do the review for last night's game after I did the review for the US versus Iran game. And we start off with the first one between Ecuador versus Senegal, and this game kind of just sums up what we saw in terms of today's action, where this was a game where, it's between two teams that, for Ecuador, they just need a draw in this one to move on to the next round. Senegal need to win, and there's at times the pendulum actually swing back and forth. It looked like it was Senegal at first moving on, then Ecuador looked like it was moving on, and then it swing right back to Senegal favor, and that basically this game at times was like clockwork. But early on, Idrissi Gana would puts it wide from close range before Galendez had to keep scrambling off his lines there to clear that ball away. Dia then pulled one just wide from close range as I thought Senegal had some good early opportunity. Again, it's not a big surprise that Senegal pressed early for the lead because they need to win this game. Sarr then had a shot that was deflected and it goes just wide before Cease would head it over the bar. But then in the 43rd minute, after all the pressure that Senegal put, they had a chance to take the lead as it was a penalty that was given to them after Hankempe brought down Sarr in the box, which Ismail Sarr would able to convert this penalty. And yeah, just like that, Senegal was leading 1-0. And as it stands, it looked like they were the one that is going to be moving on into the knockout stage. But at the same time, you also got to say it's got to be a gut punch for Ecuador because you knew that coming into this game. I mean, I guess they were trying to maybe sit back and trying to counter, which is not a bad tactic because we've seen that this Ecuadorian team had some very speedy attacker going forward, and that, unfortunately just not been able to find their transition moment and that they've been kind of pinned back for majority of the first half. But it looked like they were about to ride out of that pressure and head to halftime 0-0, but it was not meant to be because now Senegal has the 1-0 lead. There was some pushing and shoving between both of these teams after Valencia go down dramatically. Yeah, when you basically decide to create some fear at tricks, you're not going to make a lot of friends in this World Cup. So yeah, we head to halftime with Senegal leading 1-0, and in the second half you can definitely sense that there was a change of tactics, and that's going to be something I'm going to say a lot, especially when we switch forward to look at today's action, where there was definitely some change of tactics depending on the situation in the table, because now Ecuador, they got to go for it. Like, they have to get at least a draw out of this game. A loss would end their World Cup hope. They were on the front foot early looking for the equalizer. Cifuentes hits one right to Mendy as Senegal really have dropped off their intensity. Like, I get it, they want to seize out this 1-0 win, but you just kind of sense that maybe Senegal is using the Greg Berhalter approach, where they decided to maybe dropped off a little bit too much and let Ecuador back into this game and almost just kind of at times hanging on for a bit. Estrada missed wide on the header, but then in the 68th minute, Ecuador got the equalizer, and it's Moses Caicedo scoring from Torres to give the Ecuadorian the equalizer. Now, originally, I thought this was offside. Like, originally, when I saw how Caicedo was just all alone in that back post, it looked like he was in an offside position. But then when you look on the replay, looks like there was a Senegal player on the line there, and I think this was coming off of a corner, and yeah, because of that neglected the offside, and just like that, the game was all tied up at 1 apiece. And before the Ecuadorian fans had time to celebrate their team getting the equalizer and a chance to move on to the next round, Senegal get the lead back. It's Koulibaly, the ones that get the lead back for Senegal. That, believe it or not, is his first career international goal for Senegal. And I couldn't believe that, because I'm pretty sure Koulibaly has scored for Senegal before. I mean, I know he has scored for Chelsea this season, but I could not believe that's actually his first career goal. I mean, I know he's a center backs, but with the frame that he has, you would assume he would at least score a couple of heading goal for Senegal. But no, they said that it's his first career international goal, and what a time to do so, giving your country the lead back and giving your country a chance to now move on into the next round. And like I said, this game was like clockwork. Like the pendulum was swinging. At one point, it looked like it was Senegal, and then it was Ecuador, and then 2 minutes later, it swung right back to Senegal favor in terms of getting out of the group. Plata then hits it straight to Mendy before Dia pulls it wide from close range. And really, as time winds down, you can see that Ecuador, they were pushing to try to get the equalizer. By the way, one name that you notice I haven't mentioned is Enner Valencia. He was very limited in this game. I think Senegal did a really good job in terms of shutting him down, because up to that point, besides the Caicedo goal, nobody for Ecuador has scored besides Enner Valencia, and that, yeah, they did a good job in terms of shutting him down, and they make sure they double team him or even triple team him at times so that Ecuador can't supply the ball to him. Then in the 88th minute, Idrissi Gana Gueye would puts one that Galindez actually bobbled it, but he's fortunate there was no Senegalese player around his area and claim it on the second attempt. But yeah, in the end, Senegal moving on into the next round with a 2-1 win against Ecuador. And the shots in this one, 14 shots compared to 9 that Ecuador has, 4 shots on goal compared to 3 that Senegal has, 7 shots off target compared to 3 that Ecuador has, 2 shots out of block compared to 4 that Senegal has, and possession-wise, 61% possession compared to 39% possession that Senegal has in this game. And I gotta say, for Ecuador, you know, this is definitely very hard done for them, because I think throughout this tournament they have looked good. I mean, they look great in the game against Qatar, and they definitely look great in that game against the Netherlands. But you just gotta have the sense that, you know, that game against the Netherlands, I mean, if they want to think about a redo, that's the game to do so, because I think they should have won that game. And if had they actually won that game, they would not have to find in this scenario where, you know, it's still a favorable scenario to, of course, move on to the next round, but that also means you shouldn't lose the game. And yeah, because Ecuador lost this game. And again, a lot of reason why Ecuador kind of struggled to create those chances, like what we saw in the previous 2 games, is Valencia was shut down in this one, and that, you know, it's safe to say that when Valencia is shut down, pretty much majority of this Ecuador team can't really get anything going. And then I think that was probably something that maybe the Dutch and Qatar was hoping that that's the formula to shut down Ecuador, but Senegal find a way. And yeah, they of course are moving on, and it's great for them to move on too, because, you know, after what happened in the last edition, where they were incredibly hard done by the fair play constellation that knocked them out of the World Cup in the group stage, it's great to see that they got some they kind of avenged that, and now moving on into the next round. Another team that's moving on into the next round is the Netherlands. Well, this one was pretty easy for the Netherlands, and I think it's safe to say that when we look at some of the most disappointing teams this tournament, Qatar is going to be right near the top of the list. In fact, you could say that Qatar is probably the most disappointing host nation in a World Cup ever. I mean, you know, they finished with 0 points in this tournament, which is by far the fewest that any host nation has ever had in the World Cup. But even then, I know Qatar was not going to be a powerhouse, but you just feel like this was a massive disappointment, considering they weren't really that good at all in any of the 3 games that they have, and in this one, it was pretty much an easy win for the Dutch. Though early on, Brashan did deny Blind, but he gets a second crack of it, but he pulls that one high. Once again, the Dutch were off to a good start, but the question is, can they sustain that good start? That's been a problem for the Dutch, at least in these first 2 games, and especially in that last game against Ecuador. But the good news is they're playing Qatar. You know they're going to have a lot of possession in this one. Depay puts it over from close range before Klaassen would head it wide from the corner. But then in the 27th minute, the Dutch break through. And who else but Cody Gakpo scoring from Klaassen to give the Netherlands a 1-0 lead. I mean, the Cody Gakpo stock is just continue to rise. And it's getting to a point where I'm pretty sure he's going to get a big money move, whether in the winter transfer window or in the summer transfer window, to one of the bigger club, because we talk about how he's definitely one of the guys that you are going to be definitely watching out as a young player that has a lot of potential. And knowing the fact that the U.S. are going to be playing against the Netherlands, this is probably going to be the hardest player for the U.S. to contain so far in this tournament because of how hot Cody Gakpo has been and have now scored in 3 straight group stage game. But then in the 29th minute, Mohamed tried to tie it for Qatar, but that one goes right to Noper. Qatar, again, they're getting some good spell of plays, but the problem for them is the fact that they just have no quality in the final third, which is kind of just sums up in this tournament. They've been second best in that category every single game. Gakpo trying to make it 2-0 and try to score his second, but he puts it over the bar from close before Depay would pulls it wide from close range in the third minute stoppage time, and we head to halftime with the Netherlands with a comfortable 1-0 lead against Qatar. In the second half, they would make it 2-0 as Frankie de Jong would open his World Cup goal scoring account here to give the Netherlands a 2-0 lead. And up to that point, I kind of stopped paying attention to this one. Well, I kind of pay a little bit less attention and didn't really take too much notes because I knew this game was done. Like, this was the game that I was kind of focused on because it's kind of a do or die game for both them, so that's why I didn't really take too much notes. Though it looked like it was 3-0 when Steven Berghuis would score here, but unfortunately the goal was disallowed. And apparently it was disallowed because Gakpo handballed this one in the development of attack. I didn't really see how it is because, like I said, I wasn't really too focused on this game. So I'm going to say that, I'm going to trust the fact that that is the right call, even though I know in the tournament, VAR and goal disallow has been a big talking point. And we'll definitely get to one of the games that was definitely a huge talking point and just kind of sums up how VAR not only has been inconsistent in this tournament, but there's been times where it's just straight off getting the wrong call. But in the 73rd minute, Brashen would deny Dumfries in the front post, and again, it just feels like a training session for the Dutch. Like Qatar, they know that their World Cup dream is long dead, and that it was really not much kind of entertainment to watch out of this game. Hatan would then hits one right to Noper before Berghuis trying to score in the first minute stoppage time, but the post was saying no to him that on the curler. And yeah, in the end, the Dutch with a comfortable 2-0 win over Qatar, and the shots in this one, 13 shots compared to 5 that Qatar has, 3 shots on compared to 4 that the Netherlands had, 2 shots at target compared to 6 that the Netherlands had, 3 shots that was blocked within none that Qatar has, and possession-wise, 63% possession compared to 37% possession that Qatar has in this game. And, I think after watching this game and kind of watching the 3 games that the Netherlands have been playing, I will say that the U.S. have a chance. I really do, because I don't think this Netherlands team is a world beater, and this is not to disrespect the Dutch. I think they've been able to get a result in all 3 of the game. I mean, they haven't lost in a single game, but when you look at this team, I think the only player that really scares me of this team is Cody Gakpo because of how he's been a goal scoring machine for this team. But when you look at most part of this team, it's kind of average at times. I mean, this is definitely not the same Dutch team that kind of was a world beater back in the 2014 and in the 2010 World Cup, and that, I do think that the U.S. have a shot in this, but if they want to have a shot in this one against the Netherlands, I think they have to score, because I have a feeling the Netherlands are not going to get shut out in that game, and especially, like I said, Cody Gakpo, I think he's going to have another goal in this, and that he's already in early contention of winning Young Player of the tournament, and probably will win it because of him he just cannot stop scoring in this tournament. But that being said, moving on into the last game in terms of yesterday action, we got Wales versus England. So this game kind of had something that is an implication of where the U.S. Whether they're going to move on or not, or even with the U.S. finishing first. But with the way that England kind of pull away from this game, just like how I kind of stopped paying too much attention to this and kind of stopped putting too much notes, I kind of did the same thing in this one. Though I will say that because I was watching the U.S. and Iran for the second time, I was able to pay a little bit more attention of when I watched the replay of this game. But in the end, I mean, it was pretty clear that England just had way too much quality in this one against the Welsh. Though early on, it was pretty unsurprising that they had all the possession in Wales. They were looking to try to sit back and counter on the attack. I mean, coming into this game, Wales, they already have to have a miracle in terms of moving on into the next round. Ward then denied Rashford from close range before Foden puts it wide from long range. And despite dominating possession, I thought Wales had done a good job in terms of limiting some of the good chances that England has. Like, the only good chance I would say would be that Rashford chance in the 10th minute. But other than that, England, they didn't really threaten too much. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that they just moved the ball way too slowly in the attack. And this has been a problem for England in some of these World Cup games, especially in the game against the U.S., where they sometimes just move too slow on the attack and can't break down a low bunker, and next thing you know, they get countered on by the opposition. Now, obviously, it didn't happen in this one because Wales wasn't able to do much of those countering throughout this game. Though Foden did put one over the bar before Rashford puts it wide from close range. And England, they've started to kind of get into the gear a little bit, trying to press to get the opener goal. But Joe Allen almost had a chance for Wales to nick a goal before halftime, but he puts it high from long range, and we do head to halftime scoreless between Wales and England. In the second half, it wouldn't stay scoreless for long because in the 50th minute, Rashford would score to give England a 1-0 lead. That's the first free kick goal we've seen in this World Cup, and it's good to see that we finally saw a World Cup that has a free kick goal, because I feel like for a lot of these World Cup games, in terms of these free kicks, it's kind of a little bit anticlimactic, where everybody was hushing because a big name player is about to take a free kick, and only for that to either go to the wall or just send it way into the stands, and it's just kind of a disappointment. But that was not the case in this one for Marcus Rashford. I mean, he hits this one perfectly, and yeah, that gives England a 1-0 lead. And before we can blink twice, they would make it 2-0 as Phil Foden would open his World Cup goal scoring account from Harry Kane to give England a 2-0 lead, and it just came off of a terrible giveaway from Wales. I mean, you cannot do that against any team and not expect to give up a goal there, especially against England. And it just kind of sums up Wales' disappointing run. I mean, again, Wales is going to be another team that I think if I'm going to get a chance to get to a video talking about some of the most disappointing teams so far in this tournament, they will definitely be right there in my top 5, because coming into this tournament, there was a chance that they could actually do something. Heck, I predicted them to basically move on into the next round, and boy, have I got that completely wrong, as well as pretty much a lot of my prediction that I made when I predicted how the group is going to look like. But yeah, the Welsh slim chance of getting out of the group was all but gone. Pickford would then palms away a dangerous cross from Daniel James before Pickford would deny Kiefer Moore after his shot took a wicket deflection. And to credit to Wales, they haven't stopped believing. They were looking to try to maybe get one back in this one, but ultimately England had just too much quality, and that they would score again in the 68th minute. It's Rashford scoring from Phillips to give England a 3-0 lead, but that's one that Danny Ward would not want to look back, because that one kind of 5-hole him there. I mean, it hit his leg and goes into the back of the net, and that's definitely one that, as a goalkeeper, you definitely don't want to look back, and one that Danny Ward, of course, should have saved. But I'm not going to really hammer him too much about it, because he's a backup goalkeeper. He's not supposed to be he wasn't expected to be making appearance in this World Cup after Wayne Hennessy, of course, unable in this game because he got a red card in the last one. But Ward did make up for it in the 72nd minute. He denied Rashford in the front post before he denied Bellingham. But he did allow a rebound. And Bellingham had a chance to put it back in, but unfortunately, he wasn't able to do that. Moore on the other end would put one into the stands before Stone missed an absolute sitter from close range there. I mean, that's one that John Stone would want to have back. But in the end, England just way too much quality. They get the easy 3-0 win over their neighboring. I wouldn't say country, because Wales, depending on how you look at it, and I got to be careful how I say it too, because I don't want to anger the Welsh people, but they're kind of right next to each other in terms of the British Isle. But yeah, they get the better of their next door neighbor with a 3-0 win in this one. Shots in this one, 18 shots compared to 7 that Wales had. 1 shot on goal compared to 7 that England has. 6 shots off target compared to 3 that Wales had. 5 shots that was blocked compared to 3 that Wales had. And possession-wise, 65% possession compared to 35% possession that Wales has in this game. And with this win, England, of course, will be playing Senegal in the round of 16. And I can definitely smell an upset in that one because, Senegal, I think I've been mentioning throughout this beginning of the tournament that they could be one of those dark horse kind of team and a team that can really carry the African flag as the team that goes deepest in this tournament, and knowing the fact that they definitely have the quality to play against England, and even with them without Sadio Mane, which it's going to be interesting to see whether if Mane would make an appearance for Senegal once now we get into the knockout round. That's going to be interesting because, again, for England, I mean, I know in this game they look comfortable, and in the game against Iran, they definitely was very comfortable in that one. But that U.S. game was a bit of concern, and that, again, with England, it's hard to predict because we've seen them having so many disappointing tournament that ends in heartbreak, and that, that game against Senegal, it's not going to be easy, and I won't be surprised a lot of people would say that could be an upset in the making. But that being said, I am now going to switch boards and look at the craziness that happened in terms of today's World Cup group stage match day 3 in terms of the C and D group of today's group stage games. Are you guys ready for madness? Because we're about to talk about madness in terms of these 4 games that we saw that happened today, and that, I said it before, if you thought that the U.S. versus Iran game and how that was a very emotional game and probably aged me about 10 years after watching this, I can't imagine how these fans of the teams that are trying to get that second spot to move on into the next round would feel like. I mean, they probably aged at least 20 or 30 years after they had to not only hope that they can get the resort, but also look at what the other resort is, and that's exactly what we got. And we start off with the first one, which is Australia versus Denmark, and I don't think anybody saw this one coming. Like, coming into this tournament, not many people would have gave Australia a chance to move on into the knockout round, mainly because they barely squeaked into this World Cup. And after that 4-1 defeat against France, I think many people, well, including myself, would have said that them, along with Costa Rica, they might as well just get ready to pack their bags to head back home. But instead, that is not what happened, and they pull off the upset in this one against a team that many people, including myself, said that they were going to be a dark horse, and it turns out to be a huge disappointment. Now, early on in the first half, there was a couple of half chances for both teams, but neither team really looked good in the final third. Though Ryan did deny Jansen from close range before Skov Olsen would put one over the bar from close. The shots were 3-1 in favor of Denmark through the first 14 minutes, and I thought Denmark was starting to take control of this game. And asked a couple of questions of that Socceroo back line. I mean, I thought it was going to be a matter of time before the Danish was going to get their opening goal. Eriksson had the chance to do so, but he pulls one wide from 17 yards out. And then Behic hits one right to Schmeichel in the 41st minute. That was one of the first good look that Australia has had up to that point. And we head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. In the second half, Irvine missed just wide from a tight angle. And once again, I thought Denmark was playing well up to that point. They were starting to play a very high line because, they know that they have to win in this game, and also hope that France was able to beat Tunisia. So they need to get that opening goal if they want to have a shot to move on into the next round. And Australia, they were kind of sitting very deep, looking for the 0-0 to move them into the next round, because I believe a draw in this game, and depending on what happened in this one, if it remains in a draw or a France win, they will move on into the next round of the group stage. But little do we know, as we'll talk about in that game didn't stay scoreless for long up to that point. Eriksson did try to go for Olympico, but that one missed one. We had a couple of players try to go for the Olympico. I mean, I feel like in this edition of the World Cup, there's been a couple of players that have tried tried that, and some have came very close to it. And I won't be surprised we might actually see one because of how many players have been trying to go for the Olympic goal. But then in the 60th minute, this is where the shock was on. It's Matt Leckie scoring from McGree to give Australia a 1-0 lead, and this happened moment after Tunisia took the lead. Now, I don't know if those Australian players will admit to us that, you know, they know that probably Tunisia scored, so they had to win this game. But yeah, something tells me they maybe, you know, because they immediately scored right after when Tunisia took the lead. And as I will talk about in just a bit, I gotta feel bad for those Tunisian fans because they got the goal to take the lead. They thought they were in the position to move on into the group stage, and all of a sudden it's ripped out of them because Australia got the opening goal. The ref then looked like he was going to point to the spot for Denmark, but the flag of course went up. In fact, I think that would have been a penalty had the flag did not go up, because I think it was Dober for Denmark that was brought down in the box, and Australia very fortunate the flag actually came up before that there was a potential penalty that Denmark would have received. But there was no doubt Denmark had to throw the kitchen sink. Like, they knew they had to win this game, and that, you know, facing a 1-0 deficit, well, actually it might as well be a 2-goal deficit because a draw won't help them. They had to push to try to win this game. And Australia, they were defending for their lives. And again, they have the feeling about how, you know, they had to win this game. Like, if they drew this game, it would be Tunisia, the one that would move on into the next round. So that's why it got really intense for a lot of Socceroo fans. They were just at the same point as what U.S. fans felt about their team in the latter part of this game. Bawood puts it wide from a tight angle before Doberg was on the doorstep of goal, but Ryan just palms that one away before Doberg had a chance to tap it in, and then Anderson would head it into the roof of the net. And yeah, in the end, Australia, they hold on to win 1-0 in this one against Denmark, as the shots in this one, 13 shots compared to 8 that Australia has, 4 shots on goal compared to 3 that Denmark had, 5 shots off target compared to 2 that Australia has, 5 shots that was blocked compared to 2 that Australia had, and possession-wise, 69% possession compared to 31% possession that Australia has in this game. And this is the first time that Australia has scored in every single game of the group stage, and only the second time that they make it out of the group. But I would argue this time is even more impressive because, like I said, they looked like they were done in that game against France. Like, not everybody wouldn't actually be surprised that they were done, because, you know, it looked like they barely scraped to the World Cup, and they're just kind of happy of being there. But the fact that they're now able to move on into the next round in a group where that I thought that they could have potentially finished dead last in this is just nothing short of a miracle. But as much as it's a great underdog story that we saw Australia in this game, unfortunately, there is going to be one team that, of course, have to suffer a heartbreak, and we see this all the time in the World Cup. Well, at least we see it once every World Cup where there's one team that they try everything. Like, they even win the game to trying to move on into the next round, but the result just didn't go their way, and that's kind of the case for Tunisia in this game against France, where they got a historic 1-0 win against France, but the result just didn't go their way, and they're out of the World Cup. Now, keep in mind, I know there's going to be people who say, well, France, they basically filled their C team in this one. I mean, they know that they already move on into the next round, so they basically decided to put the backup brigade there. But still, even then, this is the world champion France. This is a team that supposedly has some of the best depth out of anybody in the world, and you could argue some of these players in the C team, they could start for any team in the World Cup. So this was still no easy task for this Tunisia team. Though that being said, they definitely didn't look like they were facing a mountain. In fact, they actually looked like they scored an early goal, just like what Australia did, and it happened right around the same time too, in the 9th minute when Kazari scored that looks to give Tunisia a 1-0 lead. The only problem is he was in an offside position, so yeah, that goal will not count. We remain 0-0, and again, knowing Tunisia, their World Cup lives were at stake. They were pressing early for the lead to trying to get themselves the win in this one. There was a huge shout for a penalty for Tunisia that was not given before Coman puts it high over the bar from close range in the 25th minute, and then Mandanda with denying Kazari from close. The shots were 3-1 in favor of Tunisia at 33 minutes, so not really a lot of shots up to that point, which, as we'll talk about in these next two games, that's a whole different story. Ladoni then puts a dangerous ball in the box, which no Tunisian player could get to before Kazari would blast it high as the halftime whistle sounds. So again, Tunisia pushing to try to get the opening goal, but we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. Now in the second half, there was a huge shout for a penalty that was not given from Tunisia before Laduni would blast it high from close range. But then in the 58th minute, Tunisia would score. It's Kazari scoring for Ladoni to give Tunisia a 1-0 lead. That was actually the last action that Kazari would had for Tunisia, because he was about to be subbed off. But yeah, that erupted the stadium. And again, I've talked about many times throughout this tournament, Tunisia, they certainly are one of the most loudest and most supported fans so far throughout this tournament. And it's no surprise that they pretty much dominate the stadium. I mean, it was pretty much a home game for Tunisia in this one, and they erupted when they saw their national team score. And that, again, going back to what I said about this, they were at that point, they looked like they were on point of moving on into the next round of the World Cup. But as we said earlier, that quickly swing back to Australia favor, because just 2 minutes after Kazari scored that goal, we saw Australia score there. So yeah, Tunisia, they were still leading only 1-0, and now it's up to the point where they are not only hoping to hold on to the lead, but also hoping that that game between Australia and Denmark would not end with a win for the Socceroos. But that being said, the French were having a different idea, because they started to send in the cavalry. Like Mbappe, Saliba, and Rabiot was summoned into this one. Later on, they would have Griezmann come into this one too. So this was started to become the A team for France again. And the tactics has changed now, because it looked like France was the one that dominated possession. Tunisia was trying to hold on to the lead, and also praying that in the other game it doesn't end with a victory for Australia. Dicey would head it wide from the corner before Dembele would curl one right to Damen. Did I mention Ousmane Dembele was also summoned into this game? Yeah, this would start to becoming like the A team for France again. Rabiot would hit a one-hopper that goes wide in the back post before Damen would put or he would actually palm a dangerous Mbappe cross away there, and then he denied Kula in the 90th minute, and it's all hands on the pump for this Tunisia team. Like, they were looking to try to see out the win, while the players on the bench were also kind of focusing on the game between Australia versus Denmark. Like, the Tunisia fans, they were definitely in loud noises. I'm not sure, did they realize that their team was not going to move on into the next round, even if they get a win, because it feels like they were just happy the fact that they were winning in this one, which good for them, because I know sometimes for fans it would be a little bit heartbreaking that they'll see their team miss out, and in the case of Tunisia, it's kind of heartbreaking for them doing everything that they could in this one, but they just missed out because the result doesn't go. But it certainly doesn't feel like the fans were fake about that. They were making noises. They were trying to get this team to the finish line with a historic 1-0 win. But in the 8th minute of stoppage time, Griezmann would put it into the back of the net, but VAR says that was disallowed due to offside. And I put offside with a quotation mark, because how I mentioned this tournament, there's been some very controversial VAR moment, and sometimes VAR has got it completely wrong. This was one of them. This should have never been a goal that it is disallowed, because when I look on this, the only thing I can think of that maybe this goal is disallowed is the fact that maybe when the ball was playing, the defender didn't deliberately play that, and then it goes to Griezmann, and therefore that is offside. But even then, that doesn't kind of make sense, because a defender, he actually Tunisia defender actually plays that, and that should reset the offside, which when you look at it, Griezmann wasn't in an onside position when that ball was touch a Tunisia defender. So I do not know how this goal was not stand, and that that, for France, they should have got the equalizer in this one, or maybe just the fact that VAR, they just want it for like entertainment reason. Like they know that there's going to be drama, but they also want some entertainment factor. That, hey, you know what? I know that's a goal for France, but let's be honest. Let's give those Tunisia fans something to cheer about, even though we know that they might not know that their national team is still going to exit the World Cup, and that of course is the case. As in the end, Tunisia, despite getting the win, they just didn't get the result going their way, are not going home. But the shots in this one, 10 shots compared to just 5 that France had. Both teams had 3 shots on goal, 3 shots off target compared to 2 that the French had. No shots that was blocked compared to 4 that Tunisia has. And possession-wise, 66% possession compared to 34% possession that France has. And again, for Tunisia, they should not be feeling ashamed of themselves. Like, they should hold their heads up high, because it's been a great tournament for them, and that even though, again, every tournament we will have this situation where one team is kind of hard done because the result doesn't go their way, no matter what everything they did was right. This is kind of the situation, and I do feel bad for the Tunisian fans after this game. But that being said, moving on, in terms of the next match, we got Poland versus Argentina, and yeah, this game was a game where, if you're a Poland fan, I mean, I don't know how you were able to survive after this, because while they did lose this game, they were able to move on into the next round. And at one point, they looked like they were going to move on to the next round just because of the fair play rule. And for those of you that don't know what the fair play rule is, this is literally, I think, like the 4th or 5th tiebreaker that FIFA uses if the goal difference and the amount of goals scored, and also the wins tiebreaker is completely deadlocked, which was the case between Poland and Mexico. They go to the fair play tiebreaker, and at that point it was actually Poland that has the edge in the fair play tiebreaker, which means they receive fewer yellow cards, and at that point, it looked like they were going to move on because of that, and that this would be the 2nd consecutive tournament we had this situation. Because remember, last tournament, Senegal, of course, was the team that was hard done because of the fair play rule, and that they missed out of moving on to the next round because Japan received just a little bit less yellow cards than what Senegal did. But that being said, eventually didn't kind of come down to that way. But for damn sure that a lot of Polish fans were kind of happy the fact they didn't come down to that, but still kind of had to hold their breath throughout this game. And they also are probably thanking Wojciech Szczęsny after this game, because Wojciech Szczęsny is the only reason why this game for a long time stayed 0-0, and that Poland only conceded 2 goals in this one. Now, early on in the first half, Messi would hit one right to Szczęsny before he denied Messi in the front post. Argentina was no doubt on the front foot as they were looking to try to get the opener. Acuna then blasted high from long range before Alvarez had a shot that was blocked off the line. And then on the follow-up, it was Acuna, the one that puts it wide from 19 yards out. Di Maria then tried to do the Olympic goal, and this one, of course, again, came very close. I mean, this one looks like it was drifted in, but somehow, in some way, Szczęsny just able to get back in time to tip that one over. Enzo Fernandez then puts it high from long range, as it was all Argentina up to that point. Like, they were knocking on the door to try to get the opening goal. Szczęsny then denied Alvarez in the 36th minute before 1 minute later, a penalty was awarded to Argentina after VAR deemed that Szczęsny tried to punch the ball away, but instead he connected Messi's face. Now, I think that was a very soft penalty, in my opinion. Yes, I know Szczęsny didn't miss the ball there, but it doesn't feel like he really punched Messi's face, or he just kind of lightly grazed Messi's face there. And that, again, this is another example of sometimes VAR not getting it right, and that I feel like if that was going to be a penalty, then I think there's probably going to be at least 10 penalties that's going to be called every single game. But that being said, Szczęsny, who's already had a good game in this one, he would deny Messi from the spot. So I guess ball don't lie in that moment, and I guess that that happens in the World Cup too, which I'm glad that is the case, because I really want to see a ball don't lie kind of moment, and that was definitely one of them. Although I know that was not a great penalty from Messi. What a big save that was from Szczęsny there, and that, yeah, his kind of Manuel Neuer kind of like of night would continue, because he then would denied oh god, who did no, I think it was Alvarez from long range in the 42nd minute. And again, I said Szczęsny is the only reason why this one is at 0-0. Like, this could have been easily 3 or 4-0 in favor of Argentina if Wojciech Szczęsny was not in goal. And Di Maria then puts one right to Szczęsny, because that was his ninth save. Like, at this point, we were starting to talk about the record, and how, Tim Howard, of course, still holds the record for the most save in a World Cup with 14 save in that loss against Belgium. And right now, Szczęsny not only is on point of reaching that record, but he was on pace of breaking that record, and it won't even be close with his 9th save so far in the first half. Now, as we head to halftime, scoreless between both of these teams. Unfortunately, Argentina finally broke through. It's Alexis McAllister scoring for Molina to give Argentina a 1-0 lead. A huge sigh of relief in those Argentine supporters, because, I mean, if you're an Argentina fan, you must be very frustrated up to that point. Like you just feel like, is this just one of those days where they face a goalkeeper just not going to allow anything, and he's going to be just a brick wall, like what we saw with Szczęsny there. But thankfully, they finally broke through and got a deserved 1-0 lead. Though that lead looked like it was quickly evaporated, because Glik almost had a chance to equalize for Poland, but he hits it just wide. That was one of the rare chances that Poland has. In fact, that was actually only the second shot that the Polish had up to that point. But then in the 68th minute, Argentina would double their lead. It's Alvarez scoring from Fernandez to make it 2-0 in favor of Argentina. And all of a sudden, now the tiebreaker that Poland has is just on fair play. Because up to that point, I know John Strong and Stu Holding were talking multiple times about the tiebreaker, and how it's like a razor edge advantage for the Polish, especially of what's going on in the other game, how Mexico has now closed in the goal difference between them and Poland. And that, yeah, I mean, now the tiebreaker is on fair play, and that it feels like we were in for a second tournament in a row that of course would determine the tiebreaker. Though in the 71st minute, Szczęsny would deny Messi from point blank, because why not? He's been having an incredible game. Alvarez then hits one into the side netting as he went through on goal. Poland was hanging on for dear life. Like they know that if they can see the third goal against Argentina, then Mexico now overtake them on the goal difference, and that they were almost at a point where they're just begging Argentina to not continue to press for that third goal, which thankfully for Poland, feels like Argentina kind of listened, because they did slow the tempo in the latter part, and that that kind of technically helped it Poland, even though I know the players they on the field, I don't think they knew what was going on, and how that they technically still can advance because of fair play. And that this also kind of where it gets interesting if you're Poland, where you still will advance to the next round, but do you want to maybe try to go on the attack and score a goal to make it a little bit more comfortable and help your goal difference? I mean, you can try to do that, but then if you get caught out, then that could be a big problem. In fact, in the 86th minute, they almost got caught out again, as Lautaro Martinez just puts it wide after just a WTF turnover from Poland. And I mean, I'm pretty sure all the Polish hearts were dropped when that ball was turned over. Like, that was just an ugly turnover in their own half. And Lautaro Martinez, I mean, it's been a rough tournament for Lautaro Martinez. He has not really had a really big impact for this Argentine team, and that kind of just sums it up, because if that one went in, that would have absolutely sink Poland chances of moving on into the next round. Before Tagliafico had a shot that was clear off the line by Poland, because why not have another almost heart-stopping moment for Polish fans to have to endure? But in the end, Argentina did win 2-0 in favor of Poland, and the shots in this one, 23 shots compared to 4 that Poland has, 12 shots on goal compared to none that Poland has. So in the end, Szczęsny didn't actually broke the record. He was actually only 2 shorts of it, but what a performance it was for him. Probably the best goalkeeping performance we have seen so far in this tournament. 7 shots off target for the 2 that Poland has. No shots on his walk for the 2 that Poland has. And possession-wise, 73% possession compared to 27% possession that Poland has in this game. And again, overall for Poland, they're able to move on into the next round. And it turns out it wasn't actually the fair play that they were able to move on to the next round. Because moving on into the next match and into the last game that we're going to talk about. And that, of course, is Saudi Arabia and Mexico. And this was a game for Mexico. They knew that they would need a couple of miracles for them to move on into the next round. And they look like they received those miracles because, they finally was able to break the World Cup duck of scoring a goal and even scoring 2. And that they had multiple opportunity to get that third goal, and that knowing Argentina was also winning 2-0 against Poland, and the goal difference is now dead even. And as I mentioned, the only tiebreaker is Poland just having the fair play award. All Mexico need to do is just get the third goal, and against a Saudi Arabia team that just pretty much just giving up. But in the end, not only it did not happen, that third goal for Mexico, but they eventually would give up one late, and that pretty much sank any hope of the Mexicans of moving on into the next round. But early on, Al-Awisi would deny Vega as he went through on goal there, and I thought that was a promising start for Mexico. I mean, it was very important for them to get off to a promising start because not only they need to win in this game, but they need a prayer or two if they want to move on into the next round. There was a shout for a penalty for Mexico that was not given before Kanu would put it over the bar, and he would also put it just high on the free kick. And Saudi Arabia, they know that they need their World Cup hope of moving on the next round is still well and truly alive. In fact, they're actually in a better position coming into this game compared to Mexico. So they look like they were trying to press to try to get the opening goal, and I thought we were set for an entertaining game where both of these teams was going for the win. Well, it turns out that was not the case as I will talk about in just a bit. But in the 23rd minute, Luis Chavez would hit one to Al-Awisi before Pineda would hit one that was actually deflected right to Al-Awisi. It was a much better in terms of the build-up for this Mexican team, but again, can they be a little bit more clinical in front of goal? That's just something that we have seen before in these 2 World Cup games that Mexico played, where it's just been lacking. Pineda shot took a deflection and it goes just wide before we head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams, and that has to frustrate Mexican fans because they had chances in this one, but you just wonder for them, is that goal ever going to come? Well, thankfully it did eventually came, because after Al-Awisi would deny Chavez from long range, it's Henry Martins that scores the first goal for Mexico in this tournament and the opener in this one from Montes to give Mexico a 1-0 lead. Alganin then puts it wide on the header for Saudi Arabia, but then on the other end in the 52nd minute, Luis Chavez would score, and what a free kick that is from Luis Chavez. I think between this and the Rashford free kick that I mentioned earlier in this video, that is just such a beauty to see. I always love a good free kick goal. But yeah, Mexico was up 2-0, and also with this one at that point being 1-0 in favor of Argentina, all of a sudden Mexico was in striking distance of potentially passing Poland for that second position, and they look like they made it 3-0 in the 55th minute when Lozano puts it into the back of the net. But the only problem is Chucky Lozano was in an offside position, and it was not by much. Like, it was very, very, very close, but I think he was just offside by a hair. And again, the momentum was all with the Mexican. Like, they were pressing to try to get that third goal. They know 2 goals probably is not going to be enough for them to move on into the next round, so they pressed to try to get a third goal. There was a shout for a penalty for Mexico that was not given. There was then cheers from the Mexican fans after Argentina lead it by 2-0. I mean, I don't know if those fans realize that they technically aren't actually in that second position yet because of fair play, but nevertheless, I think some of the fans realize that, yeah, they probably overtook Poland in terms of that second position. But that being said, in the 67th minute, Al-Awisi would deny Lozano from long range. And again, this Saudi Arabia team, they were completely rattled. Like, this was time for Mexico to try to get that third or even that fourth goal in this one. I mean, the Si Se Puede chant was definitely ringing around the stadium. The Mexican fans was trying to will their team to get the third goal. Martinez trying to score his second, but he blasts a volley high before Aloisi would deny Luis Chavez again on the free kick. And not only he denied him, he robbed him on that free kick. Like, that was top bins there from Luis Chavez. It looked like he scored his second free kick goal, but Aloisi just a full stretch there to rob him, deny Mexico a third and Chavez a second. Pineda then pulls it wide from long range before there was another huge shout for a penalty as Mexico thought that one of the Saudi Arabia player handballed it, but it was not given. And again, the Mexico, they were pounding on the door. Like, you just wonder, is this third goal eventually going to come? And that I also kind of had a feeling that, you know, when you have missed so many chances like this, it's looked like maybe it's just not going to happen for this team. On the other end, Al-Durazi with a rare Saudi Arabia chance, but he puts it over the bar. But then in the 87th minute, it looked like Mexico finally got that third goal, and for a second it looked like they got themselves into second position as Uro Antuna would score that goal. But the only problem is it was offside, and that for the second time tonight, Mexico goal was disallowed because of the flag. Though this one, it was not as close as the first one. I mean, Uro Antuna was probably at least a yard or two offside there, and yeah, you know, that has to frustrate the Mexican fans. They thought that they got that third goal to get themselves into second position. Lozano then blasts one into Rosette in the 4th minute of stoppage time, and with time winding down, you know Mexico was still trying to get that third goal, but when you of course decide to push so many men forward, you got to be careful not to get caught, and they got caught here, Mexico, because Saudi Arabia quickly transitioned on the other end, and Al-Durazi would score from Berry to sink any hope of Mexico potentially moving on into the next round and ensure that for the first time since 1978, Mexico does not make it out of the group. They win 2-1 in this one against Saudi Arabia, but it's Poland, the one that is moving on of the goal difference tiebreaker. And the shots in this one, 26 shots compared to 10 that Saudi Arabia has, 11 shots on goal compared to 2 that Saudi Arabia has. Both teams had 7 shot off target, 8 shots that was blocked compared to 1 that Saudi Arabia has. And possession-wise, 61% possession compared to 39% possession that Saudi Arabia has. And I also heard that there's some breaking news that Tata Martino has officially departed from being the L3 manager, and it's not a big surprise. You knew that coming into this tournament that he was under immense pressure that he needs to perform, because if he's not going to perform, he's probably going to have to force to resign his post, and it looked like that, of course, is the case. And yeah, I mean, I know coming into this tournament, this was probably the weakest Mexican team we've seen in recent years, but still, it has to be a huge disappointment of how they play throughout this tournament, and especially in this game too. Like, they should have got that third goal. They had a lot of chances in this one to do so, and when you're not able to do that, and combination of the fact that the other reserve at one point kind of help you, but it kind of come back to bite them. Yeah, Mexico deservedly go out, and like I said, it's the first time since 1978 that they have not make it out of the group. That just tells you how much of an embarrassment this has to be for Mexican fans, and that, you know, the Mexican media will really be on to this team in just a bit. But, you know, for Saudi Arabia, I know they also would be eliminated, but at least I'm pretty sure for Saudi Arabia, they had that classic notion of, well, if we can't make it through to the next round, then we're taking with us, Mexico. We're gonna take you to the elimination cloud and make sure you get your plane revved up, because they also are going home too with both of these teams getting eliminated. So while it's happy feeling for both of these teams in this, it's definitely distraught for both phases of getting eliminated from the World Cup. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of talk about the craziness that we saw in today's action, and also the World Cup action that we saw yesterday. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this video, and let me know in the comments below, are we going to get some more craziness in this World Cup? Because something tells me we are going to continue to get some craziness and some big surprises. I mean, that's been one of the big thing about this World Cup. There's been a lot of surprises and a lot of upset that we definitely did not see coming, but it kind of came to fruition. But yeah, either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.